Welcome back. Egypt's evangelical and Orthodox churches are contesting church construction draft laws, which they say are filled with complexities and obstacles. The draft law proposes that the space to be occupied by a newly constructed church should be equal to the number of Christians in the neighborhood. Although indicating one's faith is compulsory on Egyptian identification papers, official statistics find it difficult to determine the number of Christians. Others, like the Coptic Orthodox, have expressed or are shocked on some amendments, although the nature of amendments needed have not been clearly identified. The implementation of current laws means churches take longer periods to build due to complicated administrative procedures involving local authorities, national security officials, and major administrations. Well, the Voice of America's Edward Yerinen joins us from Cairo to talk more on this. Edward, it's good to have you on the program.
My pleasure.
Now, what more can you tell us about this church construction draft law?
Well, it's been hung up in Parliament. The government has tried, apparently, from what the media is saying, to add an extra clause in the law. There were 8 articles, and the extra clause, which had not been agreed upon with the Christian churches that were negotiating, means pretty much that the government can refuse to build or repair a church if they deem that the security situation is not conducive to it. What they mean by that, of course, is that the surrounding areas, their neighbors would be upset about it and riot or be otherwise upset. So this is a bit of a game changer. Also, there's a second law that another group has been trying to push through Parliament. So there is this competing law is confusing the issue, and it's really not clear that either are going to go through. So at the moment, we're at a bit of a standstill.
Well, Christians have been protesting this, hoping that the government will probably reduce the regulations involved in building a new church. Has the Egyptian government in any way reacted to these protests?
Well, the president has been trying to accommodate the Christians' demands, especially after a number of recent incidents, including one where a church was badly damaged and where a Christian woman, an elderly Christian woman, was assaulted. But at the same time, I think there's a problem with actually getting the administration to carry out these laws and whatever is being dictated from above. So it's not always easy on the ground to carry out what your will says that you want to do.
Well, why has the government decided to assume this responsibility, owing to the fact that the construction of churches in Egypt has been regulated by the Hamayoni Decree?
Well, the Constitution, the new Constitution, which was approved several years ago, called for a new look at building and repairing churches. So it's part of that Constitution, which was worked on by Christians as well as other citizens. And unfortunately, this old decree is not exactly still applicable, but in practice it is. It's in people's minds, it still applies. It was actually repealed at the turn of, I guess, before World War I. But at the same time, succeeding governments have sort of built upon it and pretty much kept the same strictures, which means that they really look at building or repairing a church with a very fine-tooth comb.
Well, Edward, can you tell us what's happening with regard to Saudi Arabia $2 billion deposit and the IMF $12 billion loan?
Well, I wish I had some good news on those two fronts. The Saudi media had indicated that they were going to come up with the $2 billion loan, but as near as I can tell, I don't hear that it's actually come through. There is a bit of friction between Egypt and Saudi Arabia over the conflict in Yemen. Egypt has sort of been helping, but I think Saudi Arabia would like a little bit more help, so perhaps that's part of the issue there. And the $12 billion loan, well, the International Monetary Fund has said that's contingent on raising.
Thank you very much,
funds.
Edward. I just have to let you go now. Thank you so much for talking to us on the program. Edward Yerinian is a Voice of America's journalist. And that's our package on the program today. Thank you so much for watching. I am Bisi Adebayo.